This is Seattle's Morning News. Dave Ross with Colleen O'Brien and Chris Sullivan. And let's check in with Dr. Keith Jerome, who is the director of the UW Virology Lab. Do you have anything left to do, or is it all over? What's your status now, Dr. Jerome?
Well, Dave, there's always stuff to do because for better or for worse, there's likely to be viruses around with us for many, many years to come. We all know there's more than just COVID, but I think, we are turning a corner, and I think it's great. We're seeing our lives come back a bit. We're seeing many fewer cases, and people can get the vaccine, and so many people have chosen to do so. So I'm feeling good these days.
So you have time to sit down and read Dr. Fauci's emails, I take it.
Well, I've read a few, but I think there's probably more hubbub there than story, but
yeah.
There's some time.
Let me ask you this, as long as we're on the topic. What do you think about the Wuhan lab leak story and the importance of finding out just exactly how the virus got released?
Well, I think that one of the concerning things has been the lack of real clarity and openness from the government in China in terms of supporting open investigation of what's happened. So, look, this is one possibility of where the virus came from. And I think the most likely thing is not that it was invented in a malicious way, but that it would have been being studied and then accidentally released. I think it's important to know because we're very careful about that sort of work. When we work with dangerous viruses, there's very careful precautions. And it's important. We really need to understand where these pandemics come from, how we can catch the next one as early as possible or even nip it in the bud. I think it's probably still more likely that this came naturally, but everything's open, and I hope we get some real answers.
And I know that Dr. Fauci had this relationship with his Chinese counterpart. Are those relationships still intact? I mean, do we have a reliable early warning system so that we're not caught off guard next time?
Well, I think we strive to have that. We strive to have contacts around the world. That's part of there are wonderful scientists across the world. Scientists tend to stay away to some degree from the political aspects of how the world works, but obviously they can't completely. And so I think that the scientist to scientist interaction is generally more open and more direct. But it's another country over which we have no control, and that would be true of any other country in the world. And some have systems that are closer to ours with openness and transparency, and others less so. So there's no guarantees that we could prevent something like this from happening in the future. We try to learn from this situation and certainly not make the same mistakes, but there are no guarantees.
Given the speed at which this vaccine was researched and produced, is there now a structure in place such that if a new, more dangerous variant pops up, there are mechanisms in place to be able to repeat that process and have a new vaccine ready rapidly?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've learned a tremendous amount in ramping up vaccine development. Just speeding it up, making huge amounts. So that would happen even faster next time. Although that said, it would still be close to a year, I think, for something to happen. But there's going to be benefits that will show themselves over the next several years. Side benefits from this entire COVID experience, as horrible as it's been. There will be some benefits in research on other viruses and other diseases, and some other people will actually be helped from what we've learned and the capacity that we've built.
Anything that we should all be doing differently next time to prevent another massive lockdown?
What we've learned from this virus is what aspects of quote lockdown are important and what are maybe less so. And unfortunately, every virus is going to be a little different, and our experience here might be different from what would happen in a future pandemic if that should happen. So we kind of have to learn this. I would hope that we could learn that as a society that, science is imperfect, but it's working and it's trying to come up for the right answers. And when there are recommendations, I hope as a society we sort of give science the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, if you guys think that this is the best approach right now, let's go with that. And, I promise not to be too upset if you find out in a couple months that actually this way is better.
Mm-hmm.
I hope people have learned that that's sort of how science works, and we give the best answer we can right now, and we'll tell you how sure we think we are, and occasionally we'll change our mind when we know better, and that's just how we try to get to truth.
Dr. Keith Jerome, UW Virology Lab. Dr. Jerome, thanks again.